I am pleased to announce that EAP 10 of the Big Data Tools plugin for JetBrains IDEs is finally out. The goal was to fix as many problems as possible and to improve the plugin from the inside out. In addition to some under-the-hood changes, two visible improvements have been made. First, with just a couple of mouse clicks, you can enable SSH tunneling to forward ports for Spark and Hadoop connections. Second, filters and limits in the Applications tab of the Spark Monitoring Tool window give you control over how much data is loaded from servers. Let's start with SSH tunneling. The servers we need are not always available directly. For example, they may be located inside a protected corporate environment or blocked by special firewall rules. A tunnel or VPN may help you to get inside, and SSH is simplest of the tunnels and is always at hand. You can create a tunnel with a simple console command on Windows or Mac. Instead of filling the values repeatedly, you can save them into the SSH config file like so. Now all you need is to run SSH in the console to get the tunnel up and running without entering the IP addresses ever again. But there are two obvious problems. First, what is -f, -l, -n, and which port should I write on the left and which on the right? For most of us, professional systems engineers excluded, this can be too hard. Second, we always write code in the IDE instead of terminal emulators. Everything you write in the console works globally. It changes the behavior of the entire operating system. In the IDE, we would like to have a per-project set of tunnels. Fortunately, starting with this release, Big Data Tools can create tunnels without manually managing SSH connections in a console. Let's open the Big Data Tools and create a new Zeppelin connection. All the connection problems are immediately displayed in the user interface. This is my test server that is called Void. It is actually working and we just connected to it. Now let's try to connect to our port on the localhost. There is no tunnel yet, so we got an error. Let's enable the tunneling. And now we need an SSH configuration. Let's add it with this special window. Click the plus sign, fill the host name and username. Pick a file authentication and locate the SSH file on your hard drive. You can test the connection immediately in this window. Now let's pick this connection and then check that the local port is the same that is filled in the configuration string. And the remote port is the actual port of the Zeppelin server. As always, you can test the connection immediately right here. And now everything is set up and you can check your Zeppelin server in the user interface. The Enable Tunneling option is available for Zeppelin, HDFS, Hadoop, and Spark monitoring connections. There's no magic. Under the hood, it reflects the console SSH behavior. Overall, this is a pretty useful feature that makes life easier in most everyday cases. But if you need to do something complicated and non-standard, you still can manually use SSH VPN and other methods old-fashioned way. The next feature is filters and limits for Spark. There are two types of people using Spark: those who have only a couple of applications in their Spark monitoring tool window and those who have hundreds. Loading a massive application list can take time, and during this time you can only guess at what state the server might be in. In this version of Big Data Tools, you can significantly limit the waiting time by manually selecting the data range to load. For example, you can open the data range dialog box and manually select a single day. Let's open the Big Data Tools panel, pick a Spark monitoring connection, and then fill the actual server URL. Let's test the connection and then connect it for real. Double-clicking the connection name opens this big panel with everything you need. You can adjust it as you like. In the left table, you can see the list of all your applications. Let's find an actual existing submission date. Open the Filter submenu and pick the Select option. Now you can fill in any date you want. Click the refresh button and that's it. The same way you can remove your filter. Just pick any time, click refresh button, and that's all. This option can save you a lot of time if you work in large production environments. The next feature is user-defined modules for Zeppelin. Many Zeppelin projects use custom jar file dependencies, and big data tools use knowledge about those dependencies to power its auto-completion, refactorings, and other smart features. Big Data Tools tries to download all jar dependencies when you synchronize Zeppelin with the IDE. When it is not possible, you have to add them to the IDE manually. In the previous EAP, you could use only Maven artifacts or standalone jar file dependencies as a user-defined dependencies. To get those artifacts and files, you have to download them from somewhere or build the entire project, which is a very long and tedious process. Now, any module of the current project can also be used as a dependency. Imagine you have a Java project with a class that defines a multiplication function. And you want this class and function to be available in your Spark notebook. But there's no such function in the after completion and your class name is red. What you can do here, you need to open the Big Data Tools panel, find the user-defined dependencies and click the plus sign. Pick the module option in the menu, pick your model and close all these windows. As you can see, the class stopped being red and your function is detected by auto-completion. That's it, so simple and useful. And now, let's take a look at the bug fixes list. Let's open the Big Data Tools plugin page on the JetBrains Marketplace. Here is the list of features and bugs in this release. OMG, it's amazing, isn't it? That's a ton of bug fixes, and I believe that the Spark monitoring will be much better now. That was an overview of the Big Data Tools EAP 10 plugin update. Thank you for watching, have a nice day, and see you next time.